Hi, this is Christina with the Stage Nature Center, and this is Sam. We are here at the Nature Center while we're closed. I'm here to help take care of the animals while we're closed, but we're excited to come to you live while you guys are at home. Hope to bring you some joy and some fun seeing Sam live here. We are, oh, I'm sorry, had a distraction behind me. We are excited to be able to do these programs while we can't see you face to face. We are unfortunately had to cancel all of our programs, and so we can't engage with you right now. So we're happy to be able to do this, and we wanted you to learn a little bit about Sam today. If you enjoy this program and would like to help support our programming, please consider making a donation. That will help us continue to do what we do and help to continue for you guys to be able to learn about nature that is local here in Troy, Michigan. So let's talk a little bit about Sam. She's a little distracted right now, just like I am, because we're in a little bit of a different area of the building than she's used to. But Sam is one of our resident owls. We have 5 owls that live with us here at the Stage Nature Center, and they live with us because they all are rescued owls that were rehabilitated. They had injuries that would make it hard for them to live out in the wild on their own, and that's why they're with us. So let me tell you a little bit about Sam. She is a barred owl. I don't know, she's being kind of quiet right now. Like I said, she likes to look all around at her surroundings, but she does like to talk. So you might hear Sam talk a little bit while we're here. But she's a barred owl, and she's one of the more common species of owls that you would see here in Michigan. Sam was rescued when she was a baby. She had fallen out of the nest, and they think that maybe she was attacked by a dog. So she had an injury to her wing, and she also had some bite marks on her back. And so people found her, they rehabilitated her, they tried to get her to heal, and they hoped that maybe she would fly as she grew and as they rehabilitated her. But even as she grew and her wounds healed, she was never able to fully regain flight. So Sam has lived with people her whole life, and so that makes her what we call an imprint, which means that she is more used to people. She relates more to people than she does her own species, which is why sometimes she talks to people too. But Sam she was found in 2011, and so that makes her about 8-9 years old now. And so we're happy to have her with us. A lot of people know her because she enjoys being around people. So surprised she's not talking yet, but like I said, these are some new surroundings for her. But so she's looking all around. I'm going to put her on this perch that she's looking at behind me, so that way we can show you some other things while we learn a little bit more about owls. Oh, there she goes. She might flap a little bit. Sam likes to spread her wings. There you go. Yeah? I think she also thinks that I'm talking to her right now because there's nobody else around but me. And so she hears me talking and she thinks that I'm talking to her. But so let's talk a little bit about owls. They're one of my favorite animals. I love all animals, but I really am quite fascinated with owls. Maybe it's because they're a nighttime creature like I am. I'm a bit of a night owl myself. Although there are a few species like the snowy owl that are considered more diurnal. Most species are nocturnal, although you can see barred owls during the daytime. Sometimes you can find them hunting. They like to go down to streams and catch things like crayfish. So it's not terribly uncommon to see them during the daytime. Owls, because they come out at night, they have so many amazing adaptations. Even though I like to be up at night and I like to do things at night, I'm not really made for the nighttime environment. Humans just aren't, but owls like Sam here are made for the nighttime environment. One of those things that helps them with their nighttime environment is their camouflage and the colors, which are the colors on their body that help them blend in. A lot of owls like Sam, they live in forested areas, so those colors help her blend in with trees that she lives in. And so it makes it really hard to see them. You could be looking at a tree even during the daytime with an owl sitting in it and not see it. I have a picture here to show you, a couple pictures. So in the top picture is a screech owl blending in with the tree, and the bottom picture is a really large owl, larger than the barred owl, called a great gray owl, that is blending in with the trunk of a tree. So you could see how even during the daytime you might be looking at this tree and these guys would blend right in. You wouldn't even notice that they're there. So they have excellent camouflage. Now there is an owl called the snowy owl, like I mentioned earlier, and their feathers, their colors help them blend in with the tundra, with the snow. So their camouflage is a little bit different. This type of owl would not blend in as well in a forest like Sam would. I have a wing of an owl here. Yeah, Sam's still talking. I don't know, hopefully you can hear her. So this is a wing from a great horned owl, which is a species that's larger than Sam. And again, you can see the excellent camouflage here in the wing. It would help them blend in very well with the trees in the forest. Now, something else that helps owls at night, and I've got a couple feathers here, is that owls have the ability to fly very quietly through the air. Even an owl the size of Sam could fly right over my head, land on a branch, and I wouldn't even know it was there if I wasn't really paying attention, because they have such silent flight. So let me show you another picture here. Their feathers are incredibly soft, and so that's one reason that they don't make a lot of sound when they're flying. But here are a couple of other pictures where you can see the edges of their feathers are fringed and serrated, and that helps them break up the turbulence, the wind, when they're flying, and that also helps them with silent flight. So they can fly through the air undetected. So that's one reason that when they're out at night, we just don't know that they're there. The screech owl that I was telling you about earlier, and let me show you a picture of the screech owl again. Let's see here. That's this little guy. They are incredibly common. We just don't see them very often because, again, they blend in very well. They're not a very large owl. They're a smaller owl. And they don't need a lot of trees to live in. They need a hole in a tree, a small hole in a tree. You can even put up a box for them to nest in, and you might get them around your house. But they're all around us. We just oftentimes don't realize it because they blend in so well and they're so quiet and they come out at night. What are you doing, Sam? Okay. So let's see. I have a few other things here. Let's talk a little bit about their eyes. Now, Sam is a barred owl, which means that her eyes are quite a bit darker than a lot of species. A lot of species, like the great horned owl, they have yellowish or brighter eyes, and that makes them look a lot larger. But owls have very large eyes. This is the skull of an owl right down here. You can see the spaces in the skull. Let me show you a skull here. So owls do have very large eyes, and that allows them to bring in more light into their eyes than we can at night. I do like to go walking in the dark, and oftentimes when I take people out on walks at night, I don't turn the lights on because I like to show people that you can see a little bit at night with the moon and the stars. You can take a little bit of light into your eyes and see well enough to walk around a little bit. Now, owls, their pupils can get very large, much larger than ours, so they don't need flashlights, and they can take in more light into their eyes than we can, so that helps them see around in the dark without needing a flashlight, which is very handy. And so they're very well adapted at the nighttime environment. Sam is looking a lot of things around us. She's kind of checking out this room. Now, one thing about owls' eyes is that they cannot turn back and forth in their head like your eyes and my eyes can. So I can look from one side to the other, just like that, without turning my head. Owls can't do that. Their eyes are stuck facing forward. So that's why Sam is demonstrating a lot of it right now. She's looking straight behind her. She's turning her head around so she can see around her. Now, their eyes are like binoculars, so they have great long distance vision, but like I said, they can't see, they can't look from side to side without turning their head. Their skull actually has these bones right here, and these bones are called sclerotic rings, and their eyes are shaped more like a tube in the back than ours, compared to ours, where ours are more round. So they can't turn it quite like we can. So again, she turns her head farther than we can. We can turn our heads about 180 degrees. So we can turn our heads and look over one shoulder and then look over the other shoulder. Owls can turn their heads and look past each shoulder, so around to the back and then back around to the other side, like you've seen Sam doing a lot of. And that's about 270 degrees is what they can do. Owls have something different in their necks than we do. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a protest. Hey, Sam. I don't know if you can hear her talking to me. Hey, Sam, what are you doing? I'll have to keep an eye on her. If she gets too unhappy, then I'll have to put her back. Like I said, this is a new environment for her, and this is a room in the Nature Center that we're not normally in. We are in our library right now, and I thought this would be a nice space for us to sit and relax and for us to talk to you guys. But it's a very different space for her, so she is looking all around. So anyway, in our necks, we have 7 vertebrae. Those are the bones that make up our spine. Hey, Sam. They have 14 bones in their neck. So that allows them to turn their necks farther than we can. And that's one of the reasons that they can turn their heads around much farther than we can. So let's talk about their legs a little bit. So this is the foot of a great horned owl. You can't really see her feet right now because her feathers kind of drape down over them as she's perched there, but they have feathers that go all the way down to their toenails. Hey, Sam. And those feathers, okay. Sam. Those feathers help them with silent flight. Those, again, as I mentioned earlier, those feathers are very soft, and that helps them with silent flight. Now, this is the foot of a hawk, and you can see those feathers don't go all the way down to their talons like it does on the owl. Now, let's also look at these big things right here. Those are the talons, and these are what the owls use to help them catch their prey. Owls do use their beaks to help them with their prey. They use it to help them eat their prey, but these are really important for them catching their prey. They're very strong, very sharp, and that's why we wear gloves when we handle them. Okay, so back to the skull. Since we mentioned the beak here, you can see that at the end of the skull there is, it's kind of like a hook, and this helps them eat their food. I think I'm going to put her back on my hand. She doesn't seem to be liking this perch very much. You want to come back over here, Sam? Yeah? Never know what animals are going to do. You want to come back on my hand? All right, step up. Step up. Step up. Okay. Okay. There we go. Let's see if she likes this a little bit better. You can see her closer anyways. I've showed you a lot of the things that I need both my hands for. So, as I was talking, you can actually kind of see the beak on her face, although a lot of those feathers around her mouth make it hard to see, but they have that beak that helps them eat their food. Now, if their prey is small enough, something like a mouse, and they're a larger owl like Sam is here, they could swallow the prey whole. If it's something bigger, like great horned owls will eat skunks, then that they can't swallow whole. That they'll rip up with their beak into smaller pieces so they can swallow it. Now, a lot of people are familiar with, let me see if she'll let me grab something over here. A lot of people are familiar with these little things called owl pellets. And I'm going to show that to you here. Owl pellets. Some people think that they're poop. This is the pellet right here. And on the other side is the pellet opened up so you can see the bones. It's not poop. It is regurgitation. So when owls eat, they eat everything. They eat the feathers, they eat the fur, they eat the bones, they eat everything. So it all goes into their body, but then they bring back up what they can't digest, and that includes the bones and the feathers and the fur. So when they bring that back up, they bring it back up in something called a pellet. And what's really neat about these pellets, one of my favorite things to do, is that you can open up these pellets, you can dissect them, and you can see all of the bones that are inside the pellet. And a lot of times you can put these bones together and you can create the whole skeleton of that animal that they ate. And you can learn about owls by looking at their pellets to see what they ate. It's one of my favorite things to do. A lot of schools do this. If it's something you want to do at home, you can order owl pellets online, believe it or not, on Amazon. And they are already sanitized when they come to you. And you can open them up and find the bones inside. And it's a really fun activity. I've done it so many times and it never gets old. And you can learn a lot about bones. You can learn a lot about skeletons. You can learn a lot about what owls eat that way. It's a really great activity. So let's see what else we have. Now, a lot of people think when they see owls that have tufts of feathers on their head, that those tufts of feathers are their ears. But those tufts of feathers are not their ears. Those tufts of feathers, like for great horned owls, just are to make them look bigger when they're feeling scared or stressed. And so they'll stick them up. And then some owls, like the screech owl, will stick them up on their head to help them blend in with the trunk of a tree. Their ears are actually underneath their feathers. So I'm going to show you another picture here. If you were to move those feathers aside, you would see that they have a hole underneath those feathers and an ear that kind of looks like ours. And they actually have excellent hearing. Now here's another image I'm going to show you here. What this image is showing is that their ears are not straight across from each other like our ears are. Our ears are straight across from each other. Owls' ears are asymmetrical, so they have one that's up and they have one that's down. And that gives them surround sound. So they can hear things that are high and low at the same time, and it gives them excellent hearing. There are owls that even hunt underneath for animals that live underneath the snow by using that hearing, and it's quite amazing. There are some really neat videos online of owls like the great gray owl that is hunting for a rodent in the snow, and once they pinpoint it with those ears, they'll dive down headfirst and catch their prey. So those are some really neat videos that you can look up online. I'm not going to try to show you Sam's ears because she seems a little bit more on edge right now, and so I don't want to stress her out too much. But she hopefully is getting some enrichment from this, from being in a different place. She's seeing a lot of different things that she doesn't normally get to see. So like I said, we have 5 owls here at the Sage Nature Center, and we have 2 barred owls, which is what Sam is. We have a great horned owl, and we have 2 screech owls. And right now they're not on public display, unfortunately, since we are closed. But when we reopen, we will be doing our owl tours again. And on those owl tours, you can see all 5 of those owls. So keep your eyes out for those tours on our website, so that way you can come join us to see the owls. Our trails are open right now, so you can get out and go on the trails. Just remember to keep that 6-foot social distancing in mind. If somebody is coming down the trail, make sure you go off to the side. But do enjoy the trails right now because it's a great time to get out if they're not too busy. We definitely want people to still stay safe and healthy. I am going to try here to see if anybody has any questions. If you have posted questions in your comments, I'll take a look through if Sam will let me here. If she doesn't, then what I'll do is I will take a look at the questions after we get off the live feed, and then I'll post the answers in the comments. I see somebody says, why do owls hoot? That's a great question. So owls hoot to talk to each other, to communicate, just like we do. Now, owls, unlike other birds, like songbirds, their vocal organs are a little bit different, so they don't make songs like other birds do. What I'm going to do, Sam has been making a little bit of sounds talking to me, but I would like to play the whole... Hey Sam, what are you doing? I would like to play the whole call for you so you can see what they sound like. People think that barred owls sound like they're saying, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" So this is what it... So that's the "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Another sound that they make when they're talking to each other during their breeding season, which they're coming to the end of their breeding season right now, because they're right now they would have their nests and laying their eggs. But this is what it sounds like. So I hope you can hear that. But that's what it sounds like when they're talking to each other. And if you've ever heard it before, out in the woods, they sound like monkeys, in my opinion, talking to each other. It really is an amazing sound. So they talk to each other mostly for breeding purposes, the males and females. They also talk a little bit for territory. You're most likely to hear them talking this much during the winter time. So from November till about February, it's going to start slowing down in March. You're going to hear them talking a lot more because that's when they're talking to each other for breeding. And then they're more quiet the rest of the year. Sam and our other barred owl, Argyle, have been talking a lot lately. And they've also been very friendly with each other, doing a lot of preening with their feathers and feeding each other. But it's a nice behavior to see. But those two have lived together for, it's been, let's see, 7-8 years now? 9. So they've lived together a long time, so they know each other well. Let's see, I see another question. Do you have tips on how to find local owls in the wild? For sure. So like I said earlier, screech owls are very common. If there is a tree that you see around you that has a hole in it, and you check out that tree on a daily basis, and all of a sudden one day you look at that tree and you notice that that hole looks like it's gone, that's one way to catch your eye, to see them. If you come out here on our trails, I check out a lot of our trees that have holes in them, but we also have boxes up in our trees that I like to take a look at when we're out here to see if there's an owl sitting in it. Barred owls, great horned owls, they like to hang out a little bit higher up in the trees, so they can be a little bit more difficult to see. They're also a little bit more shy than screech owls. One of the things you can do is go on a nature walk. We do our owl prowls here during the winter time, where we go out and we play their call to get them to respond and hopefully come in so we can see them closer. So that's one thing that you can do. There's also some Facebook groups. I'm a member of several birding groups that will tell you where there are sightings of owls, because they can be hard to see. And so that way then you can try to go see if you can find them for yourself. So when you do that, just be respectful of them. You don't want to get too close. Big crowds can make them scared. You don't want to try to do any behaviors that would make them leave that spot, but that's one way you can see them. Another clue to an owl being in a tree are their pellets. If you know that there's an owl living in an area, but you don't know exactly where it is, which tree it's living in, look for a tree that has their pellets sitting at the bottom of it. And that's probably the tree that they're hanging out in. So that's another way you can see them. I see here somebody said, what is the lifespan of an owl? It depends on the species. Screech owls, the smaller owls, they can live 10 to 15 years Barred owls can live 20, 25 years, especially in captivity. Great horned owls in captivity, there have been some that have lived up to 38 years. So it depends on the species. Generally, the older species live, or the larger species live longer than the younger species, or than the smaller species. The larger species live longer than the smaller species. So I see somebody saying, how is Rito? Rito is one of our screech owls, and he's doing pretty good. We have been working with him a little bit more to help him get more comfortable. Rito was rescued as an adult, so he is more shy than Sam is, for example, because he did not grow up around people. But he's getting more used to people, and he is taking food from me every once in a while from my hand, which is great progress. So he's doing pretty good. What do we feed the owls? We generally feed them mice and rats. The rats typically go to our great horned owl. We can also feed them things like chicks, baby chicks. Sometimes they like to eat that, but we don't feed it to them too often because that would be, for their diets, that would not be a natural thing for them. How old is Sam? Sam is about 9 years old now. Let's see. I don't know if I've missed any other questions. I'm going to scroll through here and see. Let's see. Oh, and I see somebody mentions that you're proud owners of our owl t-shirts. I wish I had one here to show you. We do have owl t-shirts that were custom made for us back when the owls first came to us. And, oh, she's looking at something outside. You can see her stretching her head around. There might be a bird up in the trees behind us. So those t-shirts were custom made for us, and they have our logo on them. They also have a wonderful graphic of an owl, and they have all 5 owls that live here. They have all of their names on the t-shirt. So if you want to help support the Nature Center and the owls, and you want to show your love of the owls, that's something that you can get from us when we reopen. You can buy one of our t-shirts. Let's see. What color are their eggs? It depends on the species, but generally, white with some brown or speckles on it. Again, depends on the species, but as far as I know, there's nothing too colorful out there for owl eggs. I'm looking back through to see if I have any other questions. Let's see here. Again, Sam is still looking around at her surroundings. So I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Oh, do each of the owls at the Nature Center have different appetites? So, yeah, they definitely do. Their rodents are one of the main things that they would all eat out in the wild, which is why feeding them mice and rats are a good thing to be feeding them. But out in the wild, like I said, barred owls sometimes also eat things from the water, like crayfish. Sometimes maybe even fish. They'll eat frogs. They'll eat snakes. They'll eat all sorts of different types of animals. The great horned owl, I think I mentioned earlier, will eat skunks. So that's one of the few animals that is actually a predator to the skunk, and I'm sure you can figure out why, because of that smell that they have. Who are predators for owls? So predators for owls here anyways would include things like maybe a snake, if a snake is able to get into their nest. Maybe something like a coyote if the owl were to end up on the ground, especially if it were injured or it were young. They don't have a lot of predators that can get to them too easily up in the trees. It usually happens when they're injured or they're young. Honestly, dogs and cats are probably a big thing for them, especially if they end up on the ground as well. Do owls have a preferred tree type? It depends, again, on the owl. Barred owls, great horned owls, they like to live in hardwood forests typically, but there is an owl called the saw-whet owl, which is an even smaller owl than the screech owl that lives here in Michigan. And they like to live in coniferous trees. So you'll see them in trees that, she's looking right at the camera. So you'll see them in trees that the name is escaping me from my head for some reason. If I can think of it, it'll come back to me. But usually pine type trees. Let's see. I think I saw another question. Why are owls shy? Well, owls are a type of animal that have adapted to coming out at night. And so they are able to hide very well. A lot of owls are not as fast as maybe some other types of birds of prey, although there are some owls that are pretty fast. So they're used to being the type of animals that sit and hide rather than being out in the open for the most part. Let's see. Somebody asked if we would be doing more of these live broadcasts. Yes, we will. My plan is to do these live broadcasts at 1 p.m. on Tuesday and Friday for at least the next few weeks. We have some other live animals here at the Nature Center that I would like to introduce to you and tell you a little bit about. Next week, next Tuesday, we will be meeting some rats. And for a lot of people, that is a interesting animal for them to be meeting, but they're actually really important. And the reason we have the rats here at the Nature Center they're our newest educational ambassadors, and they're to help teach people about why it's a bad idea to use poisons to kill things like rodents, because it ends up affecting our owls. So when I lost the comments. There we go. Okay. So when we poison rats and mice, and then predators like owls eat them, that makes the predators very sick themselves. And so it's one of the top causes of deaths for owls and for other birds of prey and other predators. So next week we'll be meeting the rats, and I do think they're actually pretty cute, but you can tell me for yourself next week when I bring out the rats. Let's see. Which owls live in barns or old buildings? Oh, that's a good question. There are some owls that live in barns and old buildings. Let me see if I can grab a picture here without Sam getting too freaked out. Oh, it's right here. So there is an owl called a barn owl. Now, Sam is a barred owl. This is a barn owl, which looks quite different. And this is an owl. Oh, she's looking at the picture. And this is a type of owl that does tend to live in barns and old buildings, especially along fields and farm areas. They like to hunt the rodents out in those areas. Now, unfortunately for us here in Michigan and in a lot of areas, we're losing our populations of barn owls because of being poisoned by rodenticides from when they eat the rats and mice. So it's pretty rare for us to see a barn owl here in Michigan. It's been a while since they've seen one anywhere here in Michigan. If we do have a chance of seeing one, it's typically in the most southern part of Michigan along the Ohio border, for example. All right, so let's see. Any other questions before we sign out? I'll definitely say hi to the owls for you all. I know a lot of you are missing them. And I know a lot of our wonderful volunteers that come in and help us here at the Nature Center are missing them. We're missing you guys too. We hope that you are all staying safe and healthy, and that you are getting outside a little bit while still staying safe and healthy. Oh, I see another question here, so I'll answer another question. What is the smallest owl species and how big are they? Here in Michigan, the smallest owl is the saw-whet owl. And they're a little bit bigger than a screech owl. So unfortunately, because Sam is on my other hand, it's hard for me to show you. But a saw-whet owl is probably maybe about this big. And there is also an owl called the elf owl. That's another small species that we have that's in the world. We don't have them here in Michigan, but they're even smaller than the saw-whet owl. All right, well, I think Sam is ready to go back. And we're going to get ready to sign off here. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. I was really excited to be able to do this for everyone and get Sam out for a little bit. I will be going to take care of the other animals now here at the Nature Center. If you have any other questions, please post them in the comments below, and I can go back later on and answer your questions. Again, if you enjoyed this live broadcast, please consider donating. We are, as you probably know, a nonprofit, and we rely very heavily on our programming, which we can't do right now, which we're very sad about because we enjoy doing programs for you all. But it's also hitting us a little bit harder because we can't bring in those funds from our programs. So if you would consider donating to help us keep doing what we do during these difficult times, and I hope you all are doing well during these difficult times, we would appreciate it. As far as the structure, I know a lot of people are asking about the owl structure. We originally hoped maybe it would go up this summer. Things are a little unclear right now because of the times that we're going through and the uncertainty. But if you want to help, you can continue to donate. You can either donate here on Facebook, you can go to our website and donate to our owl fund, which will help with the structure, but also for the care of the owls. Or you can just make a general donation to the Nature Center. All right, well, thank you so much. We enjoyed being here today. You want to say bye, Sam? Yeah, there she goes. And I'll see you next week at Tuesday with the rats. Bye.